I've never had one trauma patient in my life 1 month, 2 months, 3 months later saying, why didn't you let me die? I wanted to die.
This is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast.
You know, it wasn't one shooter.
Oh yeah, I mean that's been going back and forth.
But now you have somebody who was on the detail saying something.
That's well, I saw that movie with Clint Eastwood, wasn't he there? No. So that bullet traveled, and it's interesting what bullets will do because they really will do magical things. I've seen it firsthand too. But that bullet went up, down, and then it landed.
But that's when it hits something, you know. When you see a Full Metal Jacket bullet will go through someone, turn 180 degrees, and come out backwards. I mean, they'll hit off bone and change trajectory, but midair, generally, most high velocity bullets go in a straight line. You know?
I've been to autopsies before of someone that was shot, and they stick something in them and trace the bullet.
Yeah,
that's amazing. That is amazing.
It all comes down to velocity with bullets. It's that simple. Low velocity bullet leaves a cavitation 2 to 3 times the diameter of the bullet. When you get a high velocity over like 2,000 feet per second, you're talking 10 times the diameter of the bullet. So that's why even though it's the size of your pen, the bullet, you're like, how the hell can that kill someone or cause so much damage? Faster than the human eye can see, for that millisecond, it's being stretched out 10 times the diameter of the bullet.
Yeah, if you've ever seen a high velocity round go into the ballistics jelly.
Like the jelly, yeah.
Yeah, and you just watch it, that's what you're
That's what you're not appreciating, because the human eye won't see it.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. So you're not only an expert in repairing, but you're probably pretty well versed in the damage that most bullets can do. Like, that was a 9mm, that was 45.
I've seen it all.
223.
Yeah. We love taking them out, and then just like we take them out of patients. Only when if they're floating around is the only time we take them out. If they're lodged in something, we leave them because we're going to cause more damage going after it. So I love taking it out and hitting it in the pan. You hear that ding, and everybody starts laughing in the room.
Well, so getting back to the Kennedy assassination, the bullet was on the stretcher with him, the perfect bullet. And I used to think it was total. I'm like, because I knew enough about shooting. I've been shooting a gun forever. And I was like, there's no way but that same guy I was telling you about that was shot. So we're working on him behind the counter. And I look over, and sure as shit, there was a bullet sitting right there.
Get out.
I'm not kidding.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
There was a bullet, and I take a cup and I put it right over the bullet, right, to preserve the scene while I'm working on the guy. Right next to him, I go, hey, I'm working on it with hey, Sarge, here's the bullet right here. He goes, no. Sure enough, there was.
That's extremely rare.
Yeah. It was.
Did you think of Kennedy when you saw that? Or
I said, I did. So after everything was cleared, and you're sort of decompressing everything that just went on, you go, oh my God, that could have happened. That could have happened.
So now I'm a little. Now I'm going to start thinking about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm a bearer of witness to a magic bullet just coming out the other side.
All right.
So do you have any, I know you have a lot of other interests and stuff. I'm sure trauma is a big portion of your life, but it can't be all of it, because if you're immersed in that 100%, you're going to burn out. How do you keep from burning out?
I love traveling. I was just in Italy this week, and then Japan for 2-3 weeks before that. So whenever I have time off, I love to travel with my wife and my kids.
That's amazing that you would come into the Suffering Podcast there. I was in Italy a couple of days ago. I just came in
2 nights ago. I came back. My son was smart enough to study abroad this semester, so I went to visit him. So I love to travel. I love to see the world. I love to see how other people do things. So I'll go visit another doctor in another country, and it's amazing how different people do different things based on what they have. If they don't have a CAT, like you get shot in South America, you don't have a CAT scan. So to watch these doctors figure out things that we are so used to just getting a CAT scan and getting a 3-dimensional image of is kind of great.
Now you've gone to other countries and sat in on trauma surgeries. So
usually they end up coming to me. Other countries come to visit me and figure out how I do it. But I love going to their countries as well, because you never know when you're going to be in a situation where you don't have something.
Well, it's sort of like the, I guess, old school method of doing things. Yeah. It's great to put on these nice clothes that we have, but to watch a piece of clothing actually get made in an older format is pretty interesting to do. So you get that opportunity to do that in those other countries, maybe that don't have the technology.
That's right.
And I'm sure you learn as much from them.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because some of these people, they're amazing people out there.
Well, like I said, they're doing it bare minimum.
Right.
You know, they don't have the MRIs and all that stuff. So, I mean, they got to be brilliant.
That's what I appreciate about it. Absolutely.
So aside from traveling and you see so much trauma in your life, how do you deal with it? How do you deal with it? Because you, like we were talking about earlier, you do absorb a lot of this hurt. Not the physical pain, it's more the emotional pain in the family. Yeah. How do you deal with it? How do you decompress?
Like I was saying before, I think there's a little bit of a wall up. I do. We know how to shut it off. I don't take it home. I really try not to take it home. There's certain days where you just see something horrible, and like I said, you don't sleep at night, and you think about it, and what could I have done differently? But most days, I think you just have to. When you leave that hospital, you leave it there. Well,
you're in shape. I'm sure you work out. Physical fitness, does that have any play in it?
Yeah, I as much as I can. My schedule, I love to work out. Not a big runner. I wish I ran, but I do like to work out. I love to play the piano as well. I've played the piano all my life. So music is really good for me.
I think also having a support staff at home is important.
Yeah.
You know, when they know when you've had a bad day and they know not to start prying, you know.
Yeah.
Because that's where the similarities lie between what we did and what you do, is that support structure at home. You just said that, you know, you were supposed to spend time with your family, but you were in the ER until 12 o'clock at night. So you have to have a really supportive system at home.
Yeah.
I mean, I know even with this stuff. So this show takes up a lot of time. I'm always like, really?
Yeah.
You're going to do this? Can't we just watch a movie or something? I'm like, no, I got to get this stuff edited.
I mean, our families do get it and they do support it, but they also don't get a lot of what we do. Yeah. You have to admit that. Whether you're a veteran, law enforcement, in the healthcare field, there's certain things that we see that you can't share, that you can't talk about, and you can't relay.
Especially with HIPAA laws and all that.
Yeah. I mean, it's not even the legality of it. It's, you can't even express some of the things you've seen, you know?
How does your wife, is she just this odd, scary, understanding
person?
Wife
doesn't like to hear about these stories, but my kids do. So my kids, they'll never go skydiving. They'll never ride a motorcycle. They'll never do things like this because I basically scared the hell out of them their entire lives.
You want to come talk to my son?
I'd be happy to.
Because look, he hears stories. Like if I'm around friends or something, I rode motorcycles forever. And I was that idiot riding a wheelie on the parkway. But he hears stories about this and thinks, oh, it's cool. I want to, I built my first motorcycle. And he's like, oh, can I build a motorcycle too? And I'm like, yeah, sure, when you're older. Yeah, sure. And I just keep pushing it off. Well, he's getting older now, and he's gonna come at that. I'm gonna tell him next time. I'm like, yeah, come talk to Dr. Miggs, and we'll talk
just like even like I can't tell you how many people, and you don't see this on the news, but like when I was trauma surgeon in New York City at NYU. So many people on their cell phones in the subway that fall into the subway and lose an arm or a leg.
You see it all the time.
All the time.
So I've heard the worst stories about the people at the platform that get stuck between the train and they twist and they're still alive and they're fine.
Yeah.
And they tell their family come because once they move that train, they untwist and everything.
I had one guy who tried to commit suicide who laid across a set of tracks, and one train took off his arms, the other one took off his legs, and he survived. So imagine being the rest of your life just no arms, no legs. He was like 18 years old.
You know something, a traumatic incident like that where you try and you fail, but you get some damage. If you look at it a certain way, it's actually a blessing, because I'll bet you that kid never tried that again.
Yeah, he can't.
Yeah.
He can't even feed himself.
Yeah,
he can't do anything for himself.
But he's alive.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that has impressed me the most about being a doctor, and especially a trauma surgeon, is the will to survive. So I've had people who have been like an explosion, arms blown off, their vision is gone, they can't see. And the first couple of days after, they'll say, Doc, I don't want to live like this. Something, they lost their junk down there or whatever. I don't want to live. 100%, not even 99.9%, 100% by a week out, everyone wants to live. I've never had one trauma patient in my life 1 month, 2 months, 3 months later saying, why didn't you let me die? I wanted to die.
There's that great line in Full Metal Jacket that he says, the dead only know one thing. It is better to be alive.
Yeah.
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 Well, I mean, as silly as the movie was, too, Forrest Gump, Lieutenant Dan said to Forrest Gump, why did you save my life?
But
he's in a wheelchair now, and he's like, what kind of life is this?
At first, he said that, right?
Yeah, but then he
comes around,
and he came around.
They always come around
because there's beautiful things in life, and if you can just hang on a little bit more, hang on, pain ends.
What's the alternative? There's none.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm going to take the devil I know, which is life.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't know the other way. Not yet, anyway. I'm sure it's coming for all of us.
I got a lot of fire under my feet. I know that. Has there ever been like one of the people that you operated on, like one of these crazy surgeries? Ever they come back to see you? To like come back and meet you after it, and like it was like a thank you type thing.
Yeah, I've had one of them was this woman who was mowing the lawn. I guess this guy had his wife mowing the lawn. And she must have.
What kind of man makes his wife? Come on.
We're starting off with
a smart man.
So she's cutting the lawn, and she like cuts her leg a little bit. And she was pregnant at the time, like a couple of weeks pregnant. And she cut her leg, but she developed this massive infection from the blade hitting her leg, and went into septic shock, and was intubated in the ICU for weeks. And I ended up saving her life. After several surgeries. What?
Did you hear the way Doc just said that? He goes, I ended up saving her life. It's a Tuesday. That's all it is.
Then the husband was mad at her. Doc, what'd you do?
But I love when patients, like even years after, like she was pregnant at the time, and on the operating room table, she aborted that fetus that was 10 weeks on one of my operations with her. And I remember like taking out the baby that was like 10 weeks old, and I was like, oh shit. But at least she was alive. And what was nice is like 2 to 3 years later, after she eventually made it home after months in the hospital, she sent a picture of her new baby and, thanked me for being there.
That's cool.
That makes it worthwhile.
That's what I said. Like if you have a CPR save, we had a CPR save. The lady was 43 years old, and when we saved her, when she got out of the hospital, we all went to go see her. And she was, to this day, whenever I see her, she says, this is the guy that saved my life.
Yeah.
It's a good feeling.
It's a great feeling.
Yeah.
So our good friend, Dr. Eugene Stefanelli, said a quote that is stuck in my head now. It's a quote by Voltaire. Mm-hmm. It says, to restore a human being back to health is as noble as to create. And that sounds like what you're doing right now. It's got to be an enormous sense of satisfaction. I know you do things. You seem like a giving person. You like doing this stuff. You like bringing life back. But at some level, we all have a little bit of selfishness in us.
Yeah.
And at some level, you do it because of the feeling you got. It's the same reason somebody will put a needle in their arm or put something up their nose or take a drink. It's the same feeling. It's a personal satisfaction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's our drug. Yeah. It really is. And
I hope you do it for many, many years to come. Especially if you ever see this face looking up, just, let it go.
Yeah. I want to be operating until I can't operate anymore, put it that way.
Well, you don't look that old, so I'm sure you got plenty of time left. It's either you're taking really good care of yourself or you got some sort of magic
54.
surgical drugs.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah. Oldest guy in the room again.
I plan it that way. You got any plugs you want to throw out?
We do. We work with a federal law enforcement agency that we support. It's called the Mobile Trauma Unit. My friend Mark out there that I've known for 20 years. Basically, we take care of law enforcement, whether it's federal or local. We provide training. Been around 22 years now doing this volunteer support. And in our heyday, we were doing incredible things for the federal government that you could probably write books about that affected world politics. But at this point now, we do a lot of training with the Mobile Trauma Unit and still do some missions, but done very good things. And you could read more about it on the website.
I think they need a real good trauma surgeon in Tulum.
In
Tulum.
Tulum.
Well, can you give the website out again?
It's mobiletraumaunit.org.
Mobiletraumaunit.org. We'll put a little lower third there. So, Doc, we are coming to the end of this thing, and you have seen things that are the stuff of nightmares. You're like Final Destination stuff. I know you have.
People's and families' worst moments.
Yeah.
When you see me, it's your worst day.
Oh, yeah, without doubt.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, rephrase that, please.
Yes.
Yeah. When your patients see
Andrew,
you.
cut that one. Let's do it. No.
That's gonna be when you see me, it's your worst day.
So anytime Doc comes in your door, it's like, oh,
yeah.
Don't have him over for dinner or anything.
But if you've spent this entire time as a trauma surgeon for 30 years, okay, you've learned a thing or two. And whatever you've learned is ultra valuable because you still have a love for it. What is this suffering of being a trauma surgeon taught you?
I think if you can spare someone from having the worst day of their lives, that's a gift. It really is. If you can spare a family losing their loved one, there's nothing better than that. We've all lost somebody in this room, or we know someone who's lost somebody, and it's just the finality of it's just horrible, and you can't bring it back. So I'm the person at that moment that, if I do my job right, is bringing you back and bringing you back to your family.
I'm certainly glad there's people in the world like you.
You know, I was going to say, Doc, thanks for all you do, but mainly thanks for caring. And I think that's why you're such a good doctor, because you care. You know,
I've had some health issues in my life. As you get older, you have some health issues, and I think that's what made me the best doctor is being on a gurney in you know, one of those gowns that with your ass hanging out, and that makes you a better doctor too.
There was a movie years ago with William Hurt called The Doctor, and he was this doctor who put this wall up and was so callous by whatever he was probably in his mid-50s, early 60s, and he gets throat cancer. And all of a sudden, he has to become the patient, and he looks at things from a different angle, and he beats it, but it totally transforms the way that he lives his life.
Yep.
Yeah, so looking at things from both sides is always...
Exactly.
Gives you a different perspective.
Yep.
Doc, thank you so much for...
My pleasure, guys.
For giving us some time. I know your time is extraordinarily valuable, but I do appreciate you coming.
Glad to be here.
Thank you. Pleasure meeting you.
And that's going to do it for this episode of The Suffering Podcast, The Suffering of a Trauma Surgeon. And let's think about all the stuff that we learned. Don't ever lose your humanity. Don't say, "Don't let me die." A career often finds you. To restore a person to health is as noble as to create, but most importantly, hope can save you. And that's going to do it for this episode. Don't forget to go to popple.com for a digital business card. Put in the code TSP20 for a 20% discount. Follow us on all social media. That's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitter.
OnlyFans.
Follow Mike at Mike_Failace. Follow me at Real Kevin Donaldson. And of course, follow the Suffering Podcast. I just want to give a big shout out to my brother, Jimmy Flanagan, who just recently passed. We love you, Jimmy, and you're always going to be in our heart. We'll see you on the next episode.